Hi guys, I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson here on behalf of the amazing Majorspoilers.com to bring you a review and recap of Beauty and the Beast. Now, just so you know, there are going to be major spoilers ahead, although I think you've probably seen the original Beauty and the Beast. If you haven't seen the new one yet, you might want to come back later. Alright, so if you've never seen me do a review before, I am going to break down the good, the bad, and then give a rating out of 5 stars so you know what you are going to get into when you go and see Disney's remake of Beauty and the Beast. Let's start with the good. One of the most controversial things that has come out of this new Beauty and the Beast movie is the revelation that there's actually a gay character in it. Because gay people have been around forever. This character was later revealed to be Le Fou, which actually in French means somebody who is crazy or who is insane because his character is so over the top, played by Josh Gad. Josh Gad is the single greatest thing about Beauty and the Beast. He is a very over-the-top construct, even though his character gets fleshed out a little more than we have seen in the cartoon incarnation. Josh Gad brings his Broadway experience. If you don't know, he was in the original Broadway cast of Book of Mormon, and that theatrical sensibility to this movie where most of the rest of the cast is lacking. He's easily the best singer, and you can just tell by watching his technique that he absolutely knows what he is doing. Le Fou gets the only jokes in the entire movie that land on the audience. They get a lot of big reaction, and he actually maybe gets a little happily ever after of his own. If there's any potential for more movies coming out of this Beauty and the Beast universe, Josh Gad is the person who deserves it. He's wonderful, he's hilarious, he can sing. If you're gonna go see this movie, you are going to watch it for Josh Gad. I absolutely promise you that. Now, the man who was always on the other side of Le Fou is Gaston, played by Luke Evans, and for me, this was his best role to date. I'm sorry for all of you Hobbit trilogy fans out there. Now, he's no Richard White when it comes to doing the vocalization. He doesn't have the range that a properly trained opera singer has, but he's very funny. He does a lot of things with Gaston that meet the same over-the-top nature in that character that you expect from the show, although some of the stuff that was added for him maybe detracts from the character a little bit. It makes him actually quite boorish and dangerous as opposed to just kind of an idiot. He's very fun to watch. He looks great in the costumes, and in the brief occasions where he gets to do some sort of fighty pseudo-macho man stuff, he really handles himself quite capably. Luke Evans brings a lot to this role. Something else really great about Beauty and the Beast is Audra McDonald. Now, in the animated movie, she plays a character who's known as Madame la Grande Bouche, who is the wardrobe who dresses Belle. Here she is called Madame la Garde-robe. Garde-robe literally in French means like a wardrobe. Madame la Grande Bouche means like with the big, or Mrs. with the big mouth, because she's quite sizable. Audra McDonald is a Tony Award-winning, freaking amazing Broadway singer, and she does get a role that is specifically designed to allow her to share her vocal talents. Now, if you're someone like me, you maybe wonder why she wasn't just cast as Mrs. Potts straight up. She does get a chance to sing the Beauty and the Beast Tale as Old as Time song that is so iconic from the movie. But Emma Thompson, who does a fine job as Mrs. Potts, just doesn't stand up to the same vocal acrobatics that Audra McDonald is capable of. When she appears, both in her creature or her wardrobe self and in her live action, she just brings a beauty and a grace to the role that a lesser actor couldn't have brought to this movie. I do also want to commend Dan Stevens, who you may know from Legion or Downton Abbey. He is playing the Beast and Prince Adam in this movie, although they don't call him Prince Adam, which I think is a little bit silly. They don't call him Prince Adam in the original animated movie either, but we do know that that is his name, and this would have been a great chance to reestablish that in continuity, as opposed to people just calling him sort of the prince or the prince that the Beast turns into, which gets a little bit confusing in, transition. Now, when he is the Beast, he makes a really strong vocal choice. He does not sound the way that you are expecting Dan Stevens to sound. I'm not entirely sure if he is doing an impersonation of the original movie voice that they do for the Beast, but it is very similar, although with a lot of different delivery. When we see him as a human, of course, he's a good-looking guy. He dances very capably in both the flashback and at the end with Belle, and he brings a real regal presence, which I bet he learned on Downton Abbey, to the role. He's great in his brief live-action appearances as well. Something I do want to commend Beauty and the Beast for is that they do take a stab at being socially progressive. Now, it can be difficult to try and be progressive and make changes and be more diverse when you are adapting a classic fairy tale set in Europe and when you're adapting a classic cartoon that the same company made. But what Beauty and the Beast does is it embraces the fact that this is a fantasy world that all of these characters are living in. I mean, there are talking teacups, for goodness sake. So they cast a ton of talented African-American actors who are obviously very talented vocalists to play priests and booksellers and denizens of the castle and just fill out the world. In a company that traditionally casts very Caucasian, it's nice to see that we're embracing a little bit more of who the movie's audience is going to be. Plumette, who's also the character who's derived of Babette from the original, is a beautiful African-American actress. It's nice to see that we have a little bit more diversity going on in this fantasy world than maybe we're used to seeing in the past. All right, that is all the good I have for you from Beauty and the Beast, so let's move on to the bad. Unfortunately, most of what I have to say about this movie is in the bad. It succeeds in making the viewers want to go and check out the original. The original is so magical. It was the first full-length animated movie to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Picture. That's not for nothing. If you're gonna remake something and you decide that you're not gonna do a shot-for-shot remake, which is what this was originally heralded as, you can't step too far afield. Let's start with Belle. Emma Watson pretty much is not playing Belle. Yes, she's called Belle, and yes, she's beautiful. That is pretty much where the similarities end. She has one expression that she wears for the entire movie, which really makes her seem haughty, disinterested, and above everybody she's dealing with, including the Beast, who is supposed to be the love of her life, or Prince Adam. Basically, it's tough because Belle's first song, her introductory song, it's called Belle or Bonjour, depending on how you want to classify it, is about how she is pining for something more. She wants to leave this pastoral place in France. The added scenes, the added dialogue, and the way Emma Watson plays it really just makes her seem like she has no time for anyone there. She lacks the warmth and kindness and inner beauty as much as outer beauty that you may be used to seeing from the animated adaptation. Even Gaston in the original movie, Belle has patience for, even as she's trying to duck away from his advances or prove that he's wrong. Emma Watson's character is just straight up rude to him, which really I don't think plays very well when you're representing a character who's going to be a role model for a big part of this audience, and when you're trying to celebrate a version of this character that everybody so dearly loves. On top of that, they've added about 30 minutes of extra content, and it's just not worthwhile. If you go and see the Beauty and the Beast stage play, the Broadway adaptation, one of the tours that's going around the world, they do have some added content. There's some longer dance numbers. They put the song Human Again back in, and that show winds up being over 2 hours long. It doesn't play as well in the film. We get a ton of dance breaks, one in the middle of Be Our Guest, one in Gaston. The movie begins with a very French Louis XVI style dance that doesn't tell you anything more about the movie. It's frivolity for frivolity's sake. It's the exact same thing with a ton of added songs. None of the songs are as good as the originals. And when you have people playing the roles who aren't trained singers and you can hear the auto-tune throughout the movie, you don't want to spend any more time listening to them sing. This on top of the fact that they've slowed most of the traditional songs, again, Belle, Be Our Guest, they've slowed them down about a half step for no discernible reason except maybe to stretch the movie. The movie feels like it is reactionary to how short, the 90-minute original is, and that they are digging for more content where they don't need any. The original, like I said, was nominated for an Oscar. That is enough. If you're going to adapt something we've already seen, do it well, and it is not done well here. On top of that, the design is just, it's so overdone. Yes, we are going for a France, Versailles, Sun King, ridiculous, over-the-top aesthetic. We are fighting back against that opulence to show that beauty comes from within. It's about family, it's about creating community, it's about working together, it's not about what you have. However, if you're going to go that gaudy, then you rob the movie of any beauty that was inherent in it. Again, the original animated castle, stunning. The character designs, simple, beautiful. And in this adaptation, they're over the top. And for how much money this movie had, it looks cheap. Down to Belle's iconic yellow gown that has a zipper seam that you can see in the back and looks like it was made out of taffeta for a high school production. For how much money, effort, time, and how many amazing artisans you are certain were working on this picture, none of it translates to the scene. It's just unfortunate that on top of the fact that the movie doesn't look good, the heroine doesn't act like the heroine, and by the end of the movie, you're just dying for it to be over. There's almost nothing redeemable in this version of Beauty and the Beast. All right, so it is time to move on to the rating system. If you don't know, we go from 1 to 5 stars, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. This is a tough movie to rate. I was a very little child when the first one came out. It is near and dear to my heart. It is one of the most celebrated animated features of all time. I went and watched it so that I could forget that I had watched the live action version. I'm going to give this version of Beauty and the Beast 1 star and that is mostly for the magic and the life that Josh Gad brings to the scene. So there you have it, spoiler rights. There are all my thoughts on the Beauty and the Beast movie. If you agree or if you disagree, please go down to the comments below and let's have a discussion about it. I want to know your tale as old as time. I want you to be my guest, and thank you for being here, and thank you so much for watching this review. Be safe and make good choices.